In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News Today.
A bitter cold ahead next week, but before that, a slightly warmer weekend. And before that, happy Friday, everyone. I'm Sally Hernandez.
And I'm Erica Brennis. Kristen Curry joining us now. I know everyone in this room's glad it's Friday.
Yes.
Looks like maybe a nice weekend, right?
Yeah, I think not until early next week will we start to see some of that wintry mix. But really today will be the warmest day. The weekend we start to get colder. Let me show you what's going on outside now. Clear sky on our West Shore home camper there. And by sky, I'm talking down beneath. Up top, there's still some high clouds. In fact, a little bit more cloud cover out west where we're trying to see some showers work through Mason County. Nothing that looks substantial here. A lot of this not even reaching the ground, but 40s and 50s is where you stand now. Talk about warmer. Remember yesterday we had widespread 20s and 30s out there. This morning in the Austin Metro, we have our temperatures up to the upper 40s and low 50s. 51 Taylor, 49 Austin, 48 in Wimberley, and then those mid 40s to low 50s extend all the way out into our eastern communities. 44 Round Top, same thing Lexington, 50 degrees and Bastrop. On our way to the upper 60s today. It's going to be a nice afternoon to get outside. Not a full-blown blue sky, but we'll get some sunshine in here, and then tonight we'll drop down to those 40s. Coming up this weekend, we go from cool to cold. There is definitely going to be a better day to get outside this weekend than not. And the update on the wintry mix, I've got that for you. That will impact the start of next week, and some brutal wind chills expected here in Central Texas. More on that in your first warning forecast.
Thank you, Kristen. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his cabinet meets today to approve that ceasefire agreement with Hamas. That agreement is split in 3 phases. The first one calls for an increase of aid into Gaza and Israeli troops withdrawing to a border buffer zone. The plan also includes exchanging Palestinian prisoners. 33 women, children, elderly, and injured hostages held in Gaza, including 2 Americans. A man in his 60s and a young father wounded in the October 7th Hamas attack. Here's what the father of the young man says. Here's what he says keeps him going.
Sagi entering some room or a hallway somewhere, I hope and pray on his own 2 feet. And his 3 little girls now, one of whom he's never met, run and leap into his arms.
Israeli soldiers, other male hostages, and the remains of those killed would be released in other phases of this agreement. An effort to protect children from drug overdoses is getting a new boost. Hays County dealt with a surge of deadly teenage fentanyl overdoses in recent years.
Texas State University is now teaming up with the schools in the county to make sure that young people have the tools that they need to avoid a similar fate. The Fentanyl Education, Support, Training, and Awareness Program at Texas State University just got around $2 million to help schools implement fentanyl awareness curriculums. The team is working towards implementing a curriculum for Wimberley and Dripping Springs school districts, and it could expand.
My goal is to make sure and hopefully reduce the likelihood of any additional accidental overdoses regarding fentanyl over the next 5 years and beyond that based on this program.
We're told that they're going to start implementing curriculums this year. To further spread awareness, lawmakers at the state capitol this session are working to pass legislation to implement fentanyl awareness into grade school curriculum as well. Adding some depth in Fayette County, where LaGrange is located, the sheriff's office tells us that it's seen an unusual spike in opioid overdoses recently, and they're concerned that they could see even more, saying, quote, while it could be coincidental that these events have happened in rapid succession of one another, it is at least worthy of alerting the public to the matter.
An Austin Animal Shelter says that it's moving to layoffs so it can continue its life-saving work.
Nabil Ramonda explains why Austin Pets Alive has had to make that move and how many people it's affecting.
At Austin Pets Alive, you'll find dogs and cats who are looking for a new home. But now some of the people who care for those animals will have to find a new place to work. On Thursday, Austin Pets Alive announced they plan to reduce their workforce due to what they called economic challenges, laying off about 20 staff members. It's unclear which positions will be cut at this time. But in a statement, the nonprofit told us, quote, "This is heartbreaking because we have worked so hard to support our workers through a rapid change in the Austin cost of living. However, to maintain our life-saving work, we had to reduce our staffing by 10%. The statement went on to say that all employees would receive severance packages and career assistance. Last year, animal shelter employees filed to become the largest animal shelter union in the country. Some of their asks included wage increases, benefits, and fair employment practices. Last year, the shelter moved out of its decades-old facility, the old city shelter on Lady Bird Lake, ahead of renovations. They moved into 2 buildings near Sunset Valley. The APA shelter is going through a 4-phase plan to expand its facilities. The organization is seeking to raise about $44 million for the projects. Nabil Ramadna, KXAN News.
Thank you, Nabil. So as part of a bigger plan, the nonprofit will rebuild its adoption and foster center at the Old Town Lake Shelter site that Nabil was talking about. APA also wanted to build 3 additional facilities across the Austin area.
The future of TikTok remains in limbo. President Joe Biden saying last night that he will not enforce the ban on that app. It's supposed to start Sunday. A U.S. official said President Biden is leaving TikTok's fate in the hands of President-elect Donald Trump. Trump, who once called to ban that app, has since pledged to keep the app available in the U.S. But his transition team has not said how they intend to accomplish that. The Supreme Court has yet to rule on the constitutionality of that ban.
Welcome back. The same storm system that could bring us the chance for some wintry mix next week here in Texas is also unfortunately bringing back the dangerous fire conditions in Southern California next Monday and Tuesday. The winds had relaxed and created a window yesterday for firefighters to get a bit of an upper hand on their attack. The Palisades fire is now 22% contained. The Eaton blaze now at 55% containment, and the Hearst wildfire is now at 98%. When you look at the aftermath from above, though, neighborhoods look like they were almost flattened by a tornado. The number of people killed has risen to 27, and there are currently 31 people still missing.
This is not good. This is bad. The whole home just...
Now, the new concern here, mudslides. A Los Angeles County home barely spared from the Palisades fire was hit by a mudslide earlier this week, and it completely split the house in 2. The mud debris from the hillside came crashing down and pushed the home off of its foundation. So one hit after another, Sal, and it's just heartbreaking to see.
Welcome back. The first spacewalk of the year in the books. NASA astronauts carrying out repairs on an X-ray telescope on the International Space Station, as well as readying the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. I hope I said that right. For future upgrades. It analyzes cosmic rays. That's cool. Ooh. I know this is the first on-orbit repair of a NASA space telescope by astronauts since the final Hubble servicing mission, and that was back in 2009.
It sounded like a movie script that you just read. Well, the latest SpaceX launch didn't go quite as planned in South Texas. SpaceX's 7th test flight of its massive Starship started smoothly yesterday, but shortly after, the Starship disappeared and SpaceX lost contact. Video from people online showed streaks in the sky over Turks and Caicos and what appeared to be flaming debris. Look at that. SpaceX posted on X that Starship had experienced a, quote, rapid unscheduled disassembly. Elon Musk says that they think it was an oxygen or fuel leak, but no one was on board.
I saw he had posted on X that success is never guaranteed, but entertainment is. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I think that checks that box. You know, like sure. If you were to see that, imagine yourself on the beach of Turks and Caicos and see this like massive thing falling out of the sky that's on fire.
I actually know someone who was there and posted on his stories. Like,
that's
look
crazy.
at this.
Friend, how can we be friends with this person? And what did they say?
They just said, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it looks like fireworks or something.
Yeah, I would think something had blown up, but when you're on vacation, you're not paying attention to what's going on in the news, right? So you imagine you're like, okay, something bad happened, right? Let me show you what's going on with your forecast here, because as we start the day, this is looking real good on radar, and it's not in person, I can tell you that. There's a couple spots of sprinkles out towards the hill country, but as I've warned you before, sometimes when it's so light that is and falling so close to the ground, radar's having a hard time seeing it. So if you're looking at the map saying, whoa, that looks like a lot of rain, there's not a lot of rain falling. But it is that 10% chance that we're going to go with this morning when it comes to the potential for some sprinkles and light rain. Everybody is feeling a much milder start to the day. Look at that temperature warm up. I mean, we're 20 to 25 degrees warmer in the hill country this morning. Not nearly as cold as yesterday, as most of us are walking out to the upper 40s and low 50s. That nice cloud blanket overnight makes a difference, and so do those southerly winds. High of 68 today. 10% chance of an isolated sprinkle or spotted drizzle. South-southwest winds will be with us at 5 to 10 miles per hour. When we look at where we're going with our sky conditions, I do anticipate most of the day to hold mainly cloudy skies, but just before sunset, we could see a little bit of a break here and get in some clearer skies, but I wouldn't hold your breath on a bright blue sky today. Once we get into the overnight hours and tomorrow, I think clouds are going to be hard to come by. In fact, you're not going to see anything on future radar tomorrow, but there will be a strong cold front moving in early in the morning. Temperatures will be cooler tomorrow afternoon, and then much colder tomorrow night into Sunday, taking a little bit for that coldest of the air to arrive after the initial front. That high temperature tomorrow is at 60, but you'll notice Sunday we're only looking at 40s, and then when you factor in the winds, Sunday morning wind chills easily down to the teens and 20s. And then you look at the hard freezes we expect to follow Monday morning. Our actual air temperatures get down to the teens and 20s, and then we still have a gusty wind. So wind chills will be a big issue Sunday and Monday. It's going to be dangerously cold. So what do we know about our timeline now? Well, we know that this kicks off tomorrow. Starting with the cooler air, the coldest coming in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. As far as the wintry precipitation goes, we're getting a better idea of timing. Late Monday into Tuesday is when we have the potential to see some of that wintry mix, and there is the potential for this time around for that to be some snow, but we're not confident in any sort of snowfall totals to show you right now, because some of that could very well be freezing rain before it converts to snow. So there is some uncertainty regarding the wintry precipitation still, but we're getting a better idea of timing. Tuesday morning would be the time that I'm most concerned about right now. 60s today and tomorrow, and we are cold all next week with the highs in the 30s and 40s. Your overnight lows in the 20s. Erica?
All right, thank you, Kristen. The Texas truck driver charged in the deaths of 53 migrants pleaded guilty. The group died inside a sweltering tractor trailer with no air conditioning. This happened in 2022.
Yeah, I remember that well. The deaths in 2022 became the nation's deadliest smuggling attempt across the U.S.-Mexico border. Homero Zamorano Jr. pled guilty yesterday, and he is set to be sentenced in April. The Justice Department says that he could face a maximum sentence of life in prison.
As New Orleans prepares to host the Super Bowl next month, Louisiana authorities are clearing out homeless camps around the stadium. Last week, the state's Supreme Court overturned a restraining order that barred the state police from clearing camps. Days after the ruling, relocation notices from the state appeared at a large camp near the stadium. The notice warned that everyone must comply. Transitional centers are up for people to go there instead. The city of Austin is aiming to open 6th Street to vehicle traffic this weekend and protect pedestrians along that stretch of that busy road. Crews installed this fencing yesterday to give people wider walkways and separate them from the street. Rubber bumpers are also already up in some places, and some street parking will no longer be offered. Our team also spotted these. They're known as meridian barriers in that area.
Yeah, that's something new. APD says that they're removing these barriers from 6th Street because of the new traffic flow, but will still use them during the big crowds, festivals, and events. KXAN investigator Matt Grant learned these are the same security devices now in use after that New Orleans terror attack.
These vehicle stopping devices now deployed in New Orleans. after a truck rammed through a Bourbon Street crowd, killing 14 and injuring nearly 60.
So we have found those funds. I am happy to report that.
This week, police in Austin said they'll be using the portable steel barriers here too, downtown and at other critical sites, including utilities like Austin Energy. They're part of a plan the city says was already in the works before the New Orleans attack.
And certainly the New Orleans incident has escalated the need, and I think it has just quite clearly shown how these things could happen and how they can help, the Meridian barricades could help.
The maker, California-based Meridian Rapid Defense Group, says Austin is looking to purchase enough to cover 15 blocks. The company says each 700-pound barrier will cost around $6,500.
Those devices are going to be purchased with the intent of keeping some of our soft targets safe in any kind of pedestrian area.
The cost for protective barriers could have been offset through federal grants. In 2021, Congress authorized $25 million for local governments to install bollards, these crash-rated pole-like structures to protect pedestrians from crashes and terror attacks. But we found lawmakers never actually funded that provision of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act.
I'm honored to be here on behalf of the great city of Austin.
This week, Austin Mayor Pro Tem Vanessa Fuentes testified before a Congressional Transportation Committee about the need to reauthorize the act.
There's a lot we can do on hardening our infrastructure, our physical infrastructure.
Though she did not bring up bollards specifically,
oh my gosh,
it's an issue she knows well.
This is why we need policies updated.
Fuentes co-sponsored Austin's recently passed law requiring crash-rated bollards at all new hospitals, a direct response to our investigation of a deadly crash at St. David's North Austin Medical Center last year, one of more than 400 similar incidents we found nationwide over the past decade. Many of those sites lacked bollards. Fuentes is not the only current Austin City Council member who's considered investing in these security devices. Zoe Kadri's office tells me he's looking at not just bollards, but these Meridian barriers, not just here in downtown, but anywhere in the city that it makes sense, telling me, quote, it's only one step of many to come. In downtown Austin, Matt Grant, KXAN Investigates.
Wow, thank you so much, Matt. So we did reach out to APD to ask how many of those Meridian barriers that the city is buying, where they're going to be placed exactly, and how much this could cost. We're still waiting to hear back some answers. We do know the barrier maker says the city is finalizing the purchase and has been renting the devices for the past few years, just on a smaller scale.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
I know what's coming. But you can talk about it and talk about it all you want until you experience it. You know, it's just a talk.
Vic Schaefer, always good for a fun soundbite. Good morning, all, and happy Friday. Texas women's basketball kind of learning what the SEC is all about. Their coach certainly knows, having coached in the league for a long time, but had a bit of a wake-up call against South Carolina, the class of the conference, over the weekend. Trying to get back on track a night ago. Well, hopefully you didn't see the score right there. Playing against Deanna Gaston, former Longhorn in Auburn, and Johnny Harris, who's coached at Texas with Vic Schaefer, and all over. Those two know each other very well. So some familiar faces. Early on, Texas getting going. It's Shea Holly, who set the record for most wins as a Texas player. How about the local products? Still breaking records in Burnt Orange, gets defense into offense there. Then in the second quarter, it's Rory Harmon inside, pull up. She had quite the offensive game. And then in the second half, Texas was pulling away. In the second quarter, they went on a huge run to extend the lead and kind of kept it going late in the third. Harmon had 20, only bested by Madison Booker with 22 in this one. Texas gets back on track, gets a big one here. Booker hits another jumper, and they take down the Auburn Tigers to get back in the win column.
I was just constantly saying, like, put your foot on their neck and keep it there because they're going to try to come back. And they did a little bit, but I think we, had some really good executions and had some good defensive stops, but also boxing out was a really good key factor of that game, too.
Proud of them. It's a win on the road in the SEC. We'll take it. And congratulations to Shea Holly, the all-time winningest basketball player in the history of Texas.
Yeah, that'll certainly put a smile on Coach Vic Schaefer's face. Okay, to Texas men's basketball the night before Wednesday night against Oklahoma. Watch Roddy Terry here in the corner. So emotional in this one. Every possession, it's some emotion like that. Can't believe it. Or even later, just locked in every possession. Man, watch the jump at the end. There he is. Very entertaining, Coach RT. And Texas getting a big win over Oklahoma. They're first in the SEC. Let's kind of break down how this one happened. Texas had a big lead in this one, over 20 points in the second half, but the Sooners came back to cut it to 3 and later 2 in the second half. So the Longhorns able to hold on in large part because of Jordan Pope. Led Texas with 27 points. We've seen this guy be able to get very hot this season, and they needed it against the Sooners.
I just had to find a way to make an impact on the game. You know, they went on a good run, but we stayed poised. I stayed poised. You know, I trust my work, so I knew it was going to come down to a couple plays. I know I had to insert myself, and once I did, you know, it kind of slowed their little avalanche that they had down and kind of got the ball rolling for me and my group. But, yeah, I'm glad we were able to withstand that.
And Texas will look to spring an upset on the road next as the SEC gauntlet continues as they go to Gainesville to face the top 5 team of the Florida Gators. Also good news for Texas football. Senior edge, well, he's going to be a senior. He was a junior. Edge rusher Trey Moore announced he's returning for his senior season. That's it for us. We'll send it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Noah. Coming up, lessons learned from the last time that the temperatures dipped below freezing. Also, if you're listening on the KXAN Today podcast, thanks so much for joining us. We hope you can join us on air for that, or you can always find our stories on KXAN.com.